Okay. Today I would like to use to take advantage of this opportunity to share my thinking and my experience about the power of board learning, educational innovation triggered by board game. And I am Ted. Uh, I'm work as a professor of Department of Education, and I'm also the founder of the Center of Board Learning here in NPTU. And we are very thankful for all the support and encouragement from our staff and the colleagues. To share this experience, we must begin with a story. And this is a story about learning from students. It's my personal experience. In fact, I never heard Bogan back to that time. So firstly, is this question gave by my student, Sir, have you ever heard about Bogan? And I say no. And in order to explore what is Bogan, then we invite a teacher to our class and teach us how to play board game and what is board game. And then we have the first experience of board game. This is this is Carcassonne. It's a very famous board game. If you are a board game geek, then you must have that experience of playing it. And this is my personal first board game. And my student told me they feel it has a potential for education. This photo is taken half a years ago, and this is a camp we we held in one primary school. And you can see from the picture of the childrens, they are so happy and they are so engaged. And that is what we see from board game. And this story, in fact, is the beginning of our journey to educational innovation. And this is the logo of our center, National Pingtung University Board Game Learning Center. We have several classrooms and we have a base for students to play board game, to learn to teach board game, and to create and design board game. I think most of you, if you never heard about board game, the first question will be, what is board game? And of course, according to the literary definition, is a game you played on the desk. So some people will say it is a tabletop game. But for us, we prefer to use board game because if we analyzed the contents, the interface of board game, it is made of paper. It is made of a lot of board and picture. And after our exploration, we have found there are several keywords for board game. And these are also the key development related to educational innovation recently. And for us, it is a myth to decipher what is board game because there are a lot of different ways and the usage of board game in education. You probably heard about gamification. You probably heard about game-based learning. And you maybe heard about, game for learning. and extra. But for us, for myself, what amazed me in the beginning is the nature of a board game. A board game, for me, in fact, it is a slice of realities. This is a very famous board game called Pandemic. It is so close to the reality we are living in. But before we have the COVID-19, this board game has already made and created and played by all over the world. And in this board game, the players will have to solve the issue of the spreading of the virus. And they have tried to find all the possibility, the best way to get the solution to the disease, and even to build some lab to analyze it and try to stop the spreading of the pandemic situation to prevent the world into a chaos, and the world will be controlled by the virus. In this board game, we have the chance to think and to explore what is the best way. But unfortunately, in the reality, we only have the very one shot. So that is why, for myself, I'm so amazed by this nature of board game. It is so close to the reality. It is exactly a slice of realities. In addition to this nature, another thing I found is very interesting along the process of playing board game. A board game, in fact, is simulation of the world. Every time when we play a board game, we are like to we are like to enter a new world, create and made by ourselves, by the interaction among the players. This is a very attractive board game. It's just like the toy, a simulation of a kitchen. And when you play this board game, you have the chance to play the role as a chef. And you have tried your best to use your time within the limitation of the lens and to achieve the goal of making a lot of different dishes by using a lot of different sauce and spices. So when playing this board game, you are really like a simulation of a world. If you cannot cook and never have an experience of cooking, so perhaps before you really make a mess in your kitchen, it is a good way to begin with to play this board game. In addition to this very interesting realization of board game characteristic, another thing I like to emphasize is what I see along the board game playing process. It is the process and also a exception of the unfinished dynamic textuality. Every time when we play a board game, we open up a stage, a channel, a chance to do the intertextuality communication. If you are a board game geek, you must have this kind of experience all the time. Sometimes playing the same board game, but we have very different experience. Probably the opposite. And the reason are the one you play with. I mean the players. So the totality is always unfinished and dynamic and co-created and co-authored by the interaction of board game players. This is one of the most popular board game in Taiwan and I think also over the world. It's a Dixit. It's a board game for you to choose among a lot of different picture cards. And you have a chance try to understand and try to guess others' conception and others' mind by guessing which card is whose. Along this board game playing process, the meaning of a picture card is multiple and diverse, and you can learn and properly amazed by others' imagination and a very unique connection. These are the three understanding and realization I gained along the process of exploration of playing board game with my friend and my student. And as a professor of education, especially I and the dean, we are both the philosophers of education. We always ask questions. And I remember at the first stage of when I tried to learn and explore the usage of board game, some of my philosophers friends ask me, why? Why you do not pay your attention to study the rules, the Hida, post-structuralism, postmodernism, or a lot of analytic philosophy? There are a lot of classicals, and we never finish reading them. Why you have time for playing? So I always ask this question to myself, and I also ask this question to all the learners, I mean the teachers, the future teachers who joined my workshop or my program. We have to think the reason why board game, why we use board game in education, why we have to use board game in our limit and priceless time in a class. And these are the reasons I found and I saw in the real learning setting and in the real educational classroom. First, if we are already sick of our conventional training, we like to change our education. We like to transform our education into a different scenery. I think, and this is one of the key agreement among all the scholars around the world is the importance and the significance of self-directed learning. And in the board game process, we really see it happened. It happened along the process of gameplay because each player, they will find their own routes toward their own goals. And the process is self-directed. And all the best practice, I mean the best strategies, the best choice, the best corrections occurred along the process of this self-reflection, and that comprise the process of self-directed learning. So if you believe it is the key for learning, learning is not from the outside, learning is from the inside, and it must be made by the individual motivation self. Then self-directed learning is what we can see along the process of gameplay. And the second reason I found why board game is a good option for us to explore and to use in education is this. We are all aware of the importance of problem solving in nowadays education. But a lot of problem solving so far in education either too difficult nor is unconsiderable. I mean, for students, the problem is not a real world setting. So you solve a fake problem. You try to fake how to solve a fake solving process. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. And when you play a board game, most board game is just as what I mentioned. It is a simulation of a world, is a slice of reality. So the goal of a board game, in fact, it's the process of the problem solving. And it is situated in the real world setting. Like this is the classics in board game. In this game, everyone must learn and must to think how to create a supply chain of electricity. And you have a lot of different resources from a very rural way, like the wood, like the corn, into a very modern way, like a nuclear resource. And you also have to solve all the waste, all the problem derived from your choices. So it is just exactly the situation we faced in our reality in this real world setting, like in Taiwan. We are confronting the issue of the shortage of electricity, but what is the best way? Shall we restart the nuclear, or we should try the new natural energy sources? And within this board game process, you will have the chance to learn the cost, the benefit of each different choices of energies. So it is the best way for our next generation to think and to practice the process of problem solving within the real world setting design of a board game. And we also noticed what we faced, what we confront nowadays of the difficulty of problem solving is the problem is so complicated. So within a board game, not only the problem is very similar to the real world setting, but also the nature of the problem is complex, is interconnected. So along we play the board game, we will have the chance to let our learners to learn how to do complex problem solving. Like play this board game. It is also a very classic board game called Forbidden Island. Within this game, the players must try to stop the falling of the land because the water will rise. If we do not achieve all the mission, I mean solve the task before the thinking, the thinking of the place, then we will lose this world. And a lot of teachers and a lot of learners also found when we play a board game, when you use board game in our classroom, we are really put this famous slogan or claim by Duvey, learning by doing, into practice. So along the process of learning by doing, we will see all the children, all the learners, they are so excited and they are so engaged within the process and have the chance to explore by their hands. One of the crucial crises of our education nowadays is the crisis of engagement. And due to the nature of board game or the nature of game, the student become very engaged with the process. They are active and they are eager to respond to the teacher's instruction and all the interaction. And within board game, we also found that this is a very important factor. And I think that is one of the secrets why board game is so popular among the young generation. It can create and build a perfect context for social learning. Within the board game learning process or the context of game playing, people interact face to face, body to body, and we very soon felt we are partners. The sense of community, the task of team building will be accomplished naturally along the board game playing process. And that is why a lot of empowerment program, even though board game is not their, main class or curriculum objects, but they use board game as the best way for ice breaking because they can pull everyone into a closed circle and create a very friendly and warm atmosphere. And due to the nature of board game is that every player has to take his or her own responsibility of making choice and taking the consequence. So the process of board game is also the actualization of learner-centered education. So this is a picture we took when we have a board game learning program for senior high students in Pingdong. And they divide into groups naturally, and they are so keen to discuss and to try to solve the task given by the board game. So these are the reasons I found board game learning is very crucial and very useful, and the reason why we need to use board game. And the next question you probably has is, okay, board game seems promising, board game seems interesting and worthwhile to explore, but how? How to do? How to use? How to integrate board game into learning? How to integrate board game learning into our field, our subjects, our curriculum? And here we have several experience we would like to share what we have done here in NPTU, especially in my center and within the teacher training program. And these are our experience and exploration. First, we have several teachers learning society or group. We have the board game learning, and we will share what we did in different fields, like in special education, like in Chinese education, or in cultural education, or in life education. How do we did it, and all the different way. So I think it is very important to create a group, a team who are interested in board game learning and who are very active in trying something new. And having this kind of teacher society or teacher professional group is very important for us to explore the board game learning. And along this process, what we have tried in teacher education, we have developed the possibility of the procedure of using board game learning in teacher education. In my course, I use board game and I reconceptualize board game as a new instruction and learning media. So in my course, at instruction media and application, I use board game as the main media for students to learn how to create the context or promote learning for their students. So in my course, I will invite all the students go through this process. The first process is to learn how to play board game. So learning to play board game is important. If you like to explore the possibility of board game learning, but you never really played board game, that will be almost impossible, and you will never really realize the dynamics, the myth of board game in depth. So play enough board games is very important for us to explore the possibility and the potential of board game. So learning to play board game is important, and that always the most favorite part of a course, because the student was, oh, how nice we play game. But it is important to remind all the future teachers why we play board game is not for fun only. What we play board game is to think the possibility of transform the game rule of this certain board game into a different mechanism, or we can put different content of knowledge into the old structure, into the old game rule of a board game. So the process is playing, but the goal is to learn and to design the learning. Okay, so the next step is learning to teach board game. Play board game is easy. To teach board game is not so easy. But along this process, all the future teachers will have a great opportunity to practice their basic skills for communication, for lecturing, for transform knowledge into a workable, understandable instructions. So it is very important not only to play, but also to learn to teach. And the next procedure is that you must think, okay, you know how to play, you know how to teach board game. And then the next step, you have to think how and why you use this certain board game in your class. So along the procedure, we will teach our student, teach board game to learn. You have to think about what is your learning outcome, what is your learning mission for the students, for the learners, and then you design your usage of board game in your instruction activities. And that will bring us to the fourth stage, that is design board game learning. Design board game learning is very important and the bigger task for the teachers, because you have to use board game and to trigger real meaningful and significant learning outcome. So learning is not just from pure doing or pure experiencing. You must design the process and the opportunity after experiencing and after playing to rethink, to analyze that experience, then we will really learn from the experience. So that is the key for design board game learning. And a lot of students, after they play enough board game, they will become not be satisfied by the current board game. They try and they want to create better or more suitable learning board game for their students, for their learners. So the final stage is design learning board game. We become board game designer, but not for entertainment, but for learning. So these are the procedure and the step we have tried and built in our course to put board game learning in teacher education, to increase and to strengthen their ability of educational innovation, of instruction design, and also learning design. And this is what I mentioned. For the instruction media, I found board game has a unique characteristic. It could be a very meaningful new instruction media in terms of its nature of being green and its DIY. So what we see in this picture is these students, her final product is a board game of musical education to teach the student how to understand the structure of orchestra, how to put and what kind of musical instrument they have, and the arrangement of the different instruments within an orchestra. And along this experience, we found using board game, we will have the chance to share our student with a different understanding of instruction media. From the dominant digital instruction media, we will have a chance to introduce another possibility of physical instructional media. For a long time, we have dreamed the beautiful future for digital learning in education field. And along the COVID-19 era, this dream is come true to a certain extent. But after this experience, we also found they are really something cannot be totally replaced by digital learning. They are something warm and physical, educational, beautiful, small thing cannot happen within the digital interaction. The second part is within this nature, we found it is not an electricity instructional media. Board game is an unplugged instructional media. And also, along this process, we create opportunity for our students, not just a media user, but become the media designer. And they will transform our identity for our future teacher. We are no longer just the consumption of media. We could be the production. We can enjoy, we can participate the process of production of media. Okay, and this is the third part we found. How to use board game. We can integrate board game learning with instructional design and learning design. And within the Pingtung County, we have already developed these things with several local schools and with the local government. So for the instructional design, board game could be the motivational strengthen. It's a very useful tool for this. And also a lot of teachers reply to me, using board game, it is a very, very powerful tool for promoting memorizing. Even though we know memorizing is not the most important thing, but it is still the base, the first step for a lot of learning, the foundation for learning. So memorizing still play a certain role in instruction and in learning. And also, board game can serve as multiple evaluation and authentic assessment. A lot of evaluation and assessment is written on the paper, but using board game, we can transform that kind of conventional way into a funny and interesting and attractive way of assessment. And for the board game learning, we also found the potential to serve as the material. So we did found board game can become the learning material. So students can learn from games. So learning by games is one way to do the learning design. And the second thing, and now it's become more and more visible in a lot of different sectors, including industry and including a lot of apps, is this, the organizing. Board game can as the organizing of learning activities. And that is what we call gamification of learnings. And also we found board game play, the play process itself is the practicing of learning activity. So by this way, when students play the game, they are not only play, but also learn at the same time. So game for learning is also a possibility for us to use board game in learning design. And the final thing I found is important is that if we want our learning to be effective, then board game can be used as the game-based learning. And along this process, all the learners will learn and have fun together. In addition to the instruction and the learning design, we also found board game learning or the process of board game creation and design can be part of the school-based curriculum development. And this is the product made by my student. They try to help one primary school to into to develop their school-based curriculum. So you can see here, we have a very traditional Hakka custom, our Aboriginal custom, and also the history of Taiwan back to the period of colonizing by Japan. So using board game, it can be a new media for local knowledge storage and transmission. And it also can serve a very good interface for community communication and mutual understanding. I only have very, very short time, like 10 minutes. I like to share some key idea and the project we have already explored here in Pingdong. This is the recent project. We try to integrate board game with NPTU USR project. USR means University Social Responsibility. We try to use board game as the way to transform community history and the stories into board game. And then we can use board game for community consciousness awakening and building. And also in my personal research project is about teaching practice. It's sponsored by Ministry of Education. We try to use in board game in the process of learning and teaching philosophy education. And we try to put in the realizing process into the game rule. And also we will try to use board game for teacher identity building and the professional ethics cultivation in one of my research projects. And in the past, we have already tried to use board game for promoting the social and emotional learning. And there are some activities we have already helped some primary and junior high school. And we also have Pingdong County government to promote board game learning for teaching advancement and improvement. And we have helped them to establish dozens of board game centers in school. We also try to host educational board game design competition for international education. And this is something we have tried last year. Initially, we want to invite a lot of partner university to Taiwan, and we can have the real-time competition for board game design. But due to the COVID-19, so we only have the local student from Taiwan. I hope next year we have a chance to do it again. And also this is something we cooperate with RMUTT. They have sent RMUTT students and the teachers come to us. And we are so happy and delighted to know they eventually turned into the established board game learning center in RMUTT. And in 2015, but in fact, a lot of small activity. We use board game learning for 4C key competence. The 4C means communication, cooperation, critical thinking, and creativity. And we have tried to design and try to create a lot of different learning opportunity for the student, including primary school, junior, and high school students to explore the new competency learning via board game. And we also using board game for in our training the trainer program. So like our presenters from RBRU, Dr. Yao and Dr. Lisa-kun, they all join this program also. And in fact, we have a lot of memories and a lot of activities along this process. And finally, I would like to say, in fact, we are approaching a new era. Gaming literacy become more and more important, and the and the board game design could serve as the deconstruction and the reconstruction of systems of society and the world for our common better future. I also found within the board game, we can really encounter with each other and confront the reality authentically. So I do hope this short presentation could give all of you a bit what we found the power of board game learning in Taiwan and the experience we did in NPTU and in Pingdong. And thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions and would like to discuss with us in our roundtable discussion, we will have some time for our audience and the participants to raise some questions due to the limitation of the time. So our section of the keynote speaking and also the sharing of Taiwan experience in NPTU must be end here. And thank you for your time and attention. Thank you so much.